Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Richard.
How are you?
Doing well. What about you?
All right.
Any good news?
Well, let's see. That's a good question. I'm here today. That's good news for me. How about you?
Same as you, but that
Same as you. Okay, that is positive, isn't
sounds
it?
like a scary though.
What is scary?
Like we are here. We survived. So any news with the open house, any restrictions, or we can do it normally open houses? Or it has to be with appointment?
Open house restrictions, you said?
Yes.
Well, there are no restrictions that I'm aware of. What, is there something that you've heard that you're concerned about?
Now I was trying to go to an open house and they didn't allow me if I don't have a really appointment though. So I was surprised that they still doing that.
You tried to attend an open house and they said because you didn't have an appointment, though that would have just been a restriction imposed by the listing agent. There's no obligation to have an appointment to attend an open house, at least in regards to COVID restrictions or anything of that nature. It's just the listing agent, nothing more than that.
I was surprised about it. Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear that also. Person doesn't want to sell the house that badly.
We finally get in, but I have to like call the number in there and do the protocol and call. That was so silly.
Well, you know, the COVID forms don't even exist anymore in the zip forms library. So that says something from my perspective. Maybe the seller is just exceptionally nervous and the seller is imposing those restrictions.
Yeah, maybe that was what it happened. But yeah, it's okay. It wasn't.
So what was the asking price of the house?
That was it was actually 743,900. Very expensive for what it was, and it wasn't in a good shape to pick
How
up.
was it? And did you see many people there? I know there were appointments supposedly that were required. Carmenza, were you aware if there were many people that attended?
I went there and I was somebody inside. They have the door locked, and I say I came to see the open house, and they say, "Oh, you have to appointment." I said, "No." So do I need an appointment? And she says, "Yeah, to the number." And then he said, "Okay." So I call you now. So we went inside. It was kind of funny, but the property was, I mean, doesn't cost that much money. It's just very bad shape.
Tony, how are you? Thanks for attending today.
Thank you for having me. How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Still pretty much recovering from Italy, but good.
Oh, you're looking for sympathy.
No. I will say, if you ever get a chance, definitely Milan. If you're a shopper, that's the place to be. If you're looking for good food, Lake up around Lake Como and Lake Maggiore are really good, as well as Florence. So good fun stuff.
Well, you must be a shopper since you're aware of that.
My wife and her friend was, yes. I can't tell you. I mean, oh my God, some of the, it was like, let's go to the outlet store or the outlet region. And, you know, her friend who goes there regularly is like, oh, everything's like half off. And there was one pair of shoes that was like 750 euros, which is about $750 here. And I'm like, that's half off.
That's half off. That's a deal.
Yeah,
She was happy, obviously.
very happy. But it was fun. It was hot, humid, but it was great.
Oh, the exchange rate's more favorable than I expected.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I will say I saw some, I guess they had a car show, and oh my God, some of the most beautiful cars. I never even know that Aston Martin made an SUV, but it was great. Just sitting there on the street, just in a nice little display.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Definitely. Definitely.
Well, good morning, everybody. How are you? Thanks for attending today. We're going to start today's session with Sarah Menchaca from Southern California Funding. Sarah is going to give us some information on mortgage rates today. Sarah, Carmenza asked if I had good news. I didn't necessarily. I'm hoping you do.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was that?
I'm just hoping you're going to share some good news with us, Sarah.
Oh, good news.
Good news.
Well, I have some news. Based on the scenarios that we've been looking at, conventional, up to 647,200 at 80% loan to value, assuming a credit score of 750 or higher, rates are about between 5 to 5.375, with 0 to 1 points being charged. High balance, so anything up to 970,800, rates are starting between 5.25 to 5.625, again with 0 to 1 points being charged. And then jumbo, so anything over 970,800, their 30-year fixed options are between 5.25 to 5.625. So when we say good news, I mean the rates are definitely, they have been fluctuating, but I've been quoting rates as high as 6%. You've been up to like 6.25. So when you look at that, I mean, I think that the rates are, I think they're going to stay this probably at least to the end of the year. The Fed still wants to try to battle inflation, and the way that they still think they're going to do that is by continuing to increase the Fed rate. So I think we're here for a while. One other thing I do want to point out is that we are still doing to be determined properties for approvals. So if there's anyone that you guys are working with who might be like a self-employed borrower, maybe their financial situation is a little bit iffy and you want to be able to go in with 100% guarantee that they're going to get approved, let me know. We can do to be determined approvals, and we can also still do lock and shop. So lock rates up to 180 days. They will get that rate the day that they get approved for the lock and shop.
Right. So if it's 180 days, what do you think the cost is to do that?
So what I've been seeing is that they're usually about a half a point higher than what your traditional like 30-year fixed rate would be.
So the interest rate itself is a half point higher, not the cost of the loan.
It kind of depends. Sometimes the cost can also go up, but the rate itself is generally higher.
I see. Okay. And there's nothing to lose really, is there? But that lender is not going to allow you to take the current market rate. I would assume if you exercise the lock before the expiration.
So actually this one lender, United Wholesale Mortgage, they will allow us to do a rate renegotiation if the market rate is better at the time when they actually have an offer accepted.
I see. Really? Yeah.
Mhm.
It's pretty advantageous. And then if a lock expires, if you would just help us all understand, what do you think?
Yeah.
What are the common guidelines for most lenders if a lock does expire? And let's assume interest rates are more favorable today. Is there any benefit to the buyer?
So I would say that every lender probably has their own general guidelines for it, but traditionally, if the lock expires, meaning that, when you lock in a loan, you're locking it in for about 30 days is the traditional lock period, sometimes 45 days. If you're not going to meet that rate lock period for whatever reason, most lenders give you the ability to extend, usually up to 2 extensions, and sometimes at a max of either 30 days to 45 days, depending on the lender. If for whatever reason, though, that lock does expire and for whatever reason it wasn't extended, a lot of the times, if it's within that 30-day period, you get worst case pricing. So even if the market's better, if you had locked it in and your lock expired, you would still get that worst case pricing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Does anyone have any question? Oh, I do have another question. And then I'm just wondering, in terms of underwriting, are you seeing any change in terms of the outlook by lenders being more stringent, less stringent, or it's just been consistent?
I mean, I think the underwriting is more consistent. I will say though that I have the buyers I've been working with are we're doing non-qualified mortgages. So I've been doing, bank statement loans, profit and loss loans. So I would say in that sense, I actually think that the guidelines are lessening in the sense that the lenders are more willing to take on those types of loans. Whereas,
Okay,
alternative financing is not your traditional financing.
right.
And they're, definitely more paperwork up front for your borrower, but, it's good for a borrower who, is self-employed, maybe their last, couple of years tax returns hadn't looked that great because of COVID. Now things are looking up, but they just don't have that tax return yet to support that. So that type of loan is something that can really be beneficial to a borrower. It definitely doesn't have to be a forever loan. A lot of times those rates will start probably about a point higher than your traditional conventional loan, but it gets them in the market where we're at right now. And, they can potentially refinance out of that once their tax returns are where they need to be.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Sarah? No, we do have a guest speaker today also, and that's Anthony Bried. And Anthony, before we begin, and Anthony's discussion is on matrix search techniques. I wanted Tony to address one aspect, and that's in regards to the neighborhood market report.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, I'll go over what the neighborhood market report is for those that may not be aware, but it allows you to advertise properties that are currently listed, pending, or active under contract. However, you need to have a certain presentation. You need to give credit to the listing agent and office. As a matter of fact, you can't have photos. It can be published on a flyer, a postcard, or something of that nature. So for those of you that do use market updates, maybe it's something to consider in terms of including what is actively listed. Now, there are specific guidelines, and typically most brokers allow universal access to advertising their listings, and our office does allow that. For example, if a broker does not permit their office to advertise their listings, or another office advertise their listings through the neighborhood market report, they themselves cannot use that information found in the MLS to advertise another broker's active listings. Now, there are certain cases, if you're going to use the neighborhood market report, meaning you're going to start in your market update, you're going to list out properties that are actively listed for sale. You need to confirm beforehand that the agent has not opted out or the office has not opted out. And there is only one way, I believe, to access that information. And that's something I wanted Tony to point out to us today. So you can remain in compliance if you decide to use this tool. And it might be a good option for you if you're going to show what is closed, but then also to show what's actively available. And Tony, I have a question for you. Now, one of the guidelines to advertising someone else's listings is such that the typeface or the size of the typeface for the address must also be used when indicating the listing office and the listing agent's name.
Mm-hmm.
Now, however, you're supposed to give information sufficient that the reader can understand it's listed by another office. But Tony, what I wanted to ask you is this in terms of a different presentation. If we list the address,
Mm-hmm.
a price, so on and so forth, and we footnote it as number one, can we have a footnote below in the presentation that lists the broker's name and
Well, yeah, you could say listed by.
uh,
Like a lot of the websites are, now that with IDX, it'll indicate. So perfect. It's your MLS rule. I do believe it's MLS rule 12.16 when it comes to your public advertising, that if you are going to be advertising another agent's active listing or active under contract or pending, and you are not directly involved, meaning that you're not the listing agent or you're not the buyer's agent, then you need to give not only the full address, street number, street name, city and state, but you also need to give the listing agent and the listing brokerage credit. So you could say in that postcard, listed by Richard Moore, Coldwell Banker Platinum, right? So that way you're not in violation of not only the MLS rules, but also code of ethics of misleading the public, which is a huge thing when it comes to these flyers and market updates and things like that. So yeah, I mean, you could probably put in a footnote, but I think the font size has to be no smaller than 9 point
smaller,
font.
right?
So, or 9-point font, which depending on your font size can't be any smaller than that, but it needs to be prominently enough seen that people don't get the impression that you are the listing agent or that you're involved in that property in some fashion. And nothing will get you in trouble more than a homeowner seeing their property advertised by you and you're not the agent, and they're calling the boards and reporting the agents for these crazy flyers.
So now that he scared you to death, it doesn't mean that you can't do it, you can't do it in compliance, so you're not having kind of issues. But my thinking is, if I had a clear reference noted elsewhere in my advertisement, so directly next to the listing, to the address is not someone else's name, maybe that's a better presentation, because the rule does not mandate a certain format.
You're right. It doesn't mandate a certain format. But I mean, because I know some agents will go, well, I'll just say it's a 5-bedroom, 3-bath property. Well, if it's the one and only 5-bedroom, 3-bath property and it's an easy identifier, then you need to make sure that you're in compliance with that. So you got to be really careful about your market update. I mean, there are ways of doing it, especially in a listing presentation, where you can say there are 16 homes active in the neighborhood. Give me a call and we can discuss that, or go over a CMA about your home value, things like that, where you're being a little,
Clever.
super, yeah, a little clever about it. Thank you. But when you start saying, oh, there are 5 3-bedroom, 4 baths, and you start narrowing down that gap, where now all of a sudden you got to do full identifiers. But that's only if the agents do allow their listings to be on a market report. And we need to make sure that we do that, because again, that's another MLS violation, because if an agent is refusing to have their listing on a market report that you can use, then not only can you not use their listing or any other of that brokerage's listings in a market report, but they can't even use your listing in a market report. So it's kind of a, crude term here, a tit for tat kind of thing. But I can show you guys how to do that if you want.
I would like you to add that to today's discussion.
Okay, awesome.
Please. Thank
Well,
you.
good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome. Just FYI, if you haven't seen it, and I know Mr. Moore has gone over this, is probably getting ready. As you may or may not be aware, real quickly, besides my name being Anthony, I work here at Orange County Realtors. I am your trainer, and I'm here each and every month for you to give you training on all your tools and products. Just a quick announcement: the RPA contract is being modified at the end of this month. So it does have an update coming out. I will tell you that I've seen the red line, and it's one paragraph 5. That's on page 5 on the contract has been modified to accommodate a couple of things. Definitely go through CAR, look at your standard forms, look at your forms revisions. One of the big things that's coming out is the new form called the FAAA. So it's the federal, oh gosh, what is it? Oh, Federal Appraiser Act Addendum. So the FAAA. So that form is actually going to be included in the RPA after June. So in just a mere couple of days, there's going to be an extra contract that you guys are going to have, whereby if the buyer feels that the appraisal was a what is
A
it?
product of prejudicial activity, right?
Questionable activity in their appraisal, and they feel that they were discriminated against about their appraiser, there's a way to file for that. So, yay, lawsuits. So we got to have a little fun. Okay, so let's go over some search techniques. Let's have some fun. I know that we are in an ever-changing market. Thank you very much, inflation. Thank you very much, in interest rates going up. We've now got to be able to find properties and, of course, have some extra inventory to be able to choose from. I do believe I was in an office meeting last week, and they said that in Orange County, the detached market is about 3,200 properties as of the month of May, up from 2,000 properties from January, which, hey, yay, people are now finally wanting to list. So how do we find those? All right, so let's see here if I can share my screen. Excellent. So let's go over a couple of things here in MLS. So let's find some properties real quickly. Now, some of you have probably seen the Market Watch and the hot sheets real quickly. This is a great tool for you to be able to find properties very quickly and easily, especially if you have a client that's going to call you and you want to keep up on the market. So the first thing that we're going to go over is the Market Watch. Now, the Market Watch, I love this tool here because at a quick glance, I get to see how many properties are incoming soon, how many listings are brand new, price changes, back on the market, went into contract, but is accepting backup offers, pending sales, closed sales, expired, canceled, hold, and withdrawn. Everything that I, as an agent, need to know about the areas that I'm in. But we see here that for my time frame, what's been happening just today, as of midnight this morning to now, there's not been a lot of activity. Well, why? Wait a minute. Why is that? Well, that's because I'm looking at a residential for a particular area that I have set up for a search. Now, some of you may actually probably see something like this if you haven't used this tool. And if I just reset this here, you probably see these giant, large numbers. Hey, there are 28 new lists or coming soon listings that have come on the market today, 192 brand new active properties on the market, 167 went through a price change. Now, just think that if you've never touched this, you're looking at the entire MLS database. So how do I narrow this down for what I need? So all I need to do in order to narrow this down for maybe the areas that I'm marketing or I want to keep track of on a regular basis, I'm just going to simply, under this tool, under this widget, come down below to the bottom right corner and click on Customize. When I click on Customize, I can now put in some search criteria. Now you'll notice here real quickly, we've got some very basic search criteria. Now, what I'm not going to be pulling is properties that are active, properties that are pending, properties that are closed. I'm not looking at those statuses. Why? Because I'm looking at everything happening in these particular areas. But maybe you want to narrow it down by the property subtype. Maybe you want to narrow it down by the county. Maybe you want to narrow it down by the city. Or even better yet, you create a map search and you outline your neighborhood. And if you don't know how to do that, I'll show you that today. So here, maybe as an example, we're going to type in Irvine. And if I wanted to, I can narrow it down by the MLS area. But if I put in nothing else and I hit save, now my Market Watch immediately updates to show me what's been happening in Irvine today, as of midnight this morning to now. I see that there are two listings that came in under coming soon, 2 properties that came under active, which are brand new today. 2 listings went through a price change, so on and so forth. Now, if I wanted to look at these listings specifically, all I would need to do is just simply come over to the choice that I want, and in this case, the new listings, and I can click on it, and I can see these 2 brand new listings. So I see these 2 listings here, one at 103 Cape Berry and one at 177 Willow Bend. Now, if I wanted to, and I needed to get these to a client because, hey, these are brand new properties, and I was just keeping an eye out for them, I could then very simply select them, and then down below under actions, email them the selected properties. Now, this is a really good tool because if I get a call, say from Joe, and Joe says, hey, Tony, what's been happening in Irvine? I'm kind of curious. With this market watch, I can tell him, well, geez, Joe, just as of today, this is what's been happening. But in the past, if I wanted to, 24 hours, I can give him a different number. So things are moving and shaking in the city of Irvine. Now, this is a little bit different than the hot sheet. Now, what's interesting about the hot sheets versus the market watch is that I'm only allowed one property type for a market watch. So if I wanted to put in multiple cities or have different market watches for multiple cities, the market watch widget is not the tool we want to use. The tool we would want to use at that point to give us this type of information is the hot sheet. Now, by the way, before I leave market watch, is anybody using the market watch tool?
I don't see anyone responding.
So, you know what, just for marketing purposes, things like this is a really good tool to keep up on the market and keep apprised of your market that you're marketing in. What's happening daily is what I like about this. I used to use it. Well, Mark, why don't you use it anymore? Did you find that you were doing other searches? Not sure.
Good, I'm not
It
sure.
happens. It happens. Now, this is going to lead us into the hot sheet. If I needed multiple different residential updates on multiple different areas, then this is where I'm going to come over to the hot sheet. Now, with the hot sheet tool, I can have up to 12 hot sheets. All 12 can be for different residential areas if I wanted to. Or depending on my business, maybe I have 2 or 3 hot sheets for residential, maybe 1 or 2 for leases, and maybe 1 or 2 for cross properties like commercial and things like this. Now, how we make, it's my first time seeing this, excellent, and well, hopefully we're showing you some good stuff. So now to make a hot sheet very easily, we're going to come over here to the hot sheet widget. And by the way, these widgets can be moved around anywhere on my screen if I want to. Just simply hover over top of the title and place it where I want. Now, if you don't have the hot sheets widget or the market watch widget on your screen, scroll down and look for under the additional widgets section and see if it's here. If it's here, then simply click and hold with your mouse, drag it and move it onto the screen and place it wherever you want to open up that tool. Now, to get back to the hot sheets here, to create a hot sheet, if you haven't created one before, very simply, we're going to come to the hot sheet widget, come down below to the bottom left corner and click on Add Customize. From here, to make a hot sheet, I'm just going to simply come over towards the right side here, click on Add. I now get to pick the property type. So I can select residential, and then I'm going to name it. Maybe I'm going to name it something like, oh, I don't know, my neighborhood track. Okay. And then I'm going to hit save. Now I've officially made the hot sheet, but I haven't added any data or criteria to this hot sheet. So now with this hot sheet created, I now need to modify the criteria, come back over towards the right, click on edit criteria, and now put in the criteria that you need or require for this hot sheet. So maybe some of you are helping the senior community and you're looking for senior areas. This would be a great opportunity to put in the necessary cities and maybe even indicate if you're looking for a senior community, yes or no. In this case, maybe yes. I'm looking for senior communities available. Or maybe you're looking for non-HOAs. Simply come down below under additional field, click on add remove, search for the fields you might need like HOA. Interesting. Maybe it's already back there. Nope, I don't see it. Senior, yeah, no, that should be a yes or no field. Maybe they renamed it subdivision. Nope. HOA dues. Nope. I guess it's not there. That's okay.
How
Oh,
about
here we go.
Common interest development?
Maybe common interest. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Association. Let's see here. There used to be, there we go. Association, yes or no. There we go. You'll notice here I didn't put in the fee one, only because if an association is no, there is no fee requirement. So here, association, yes or no. I now hit back, and now I can simply select, I don't want properties in an association or HOA. Again, here I can define what cities, put in my map search, map out my area, this, that, and the other. So here, maybe I'm going to go with Irvine this time, but this time I'm going to now narrow it down. Whoops. To a particular area. So maybe Northwood. And then I'm going to hit save. And now I'm done. From here to look at the information, I select my time frame, 24 hours today, up to 7 days ago, or this session. The session is my login session. So if I log out and I log back in, that's a session. Okay. But now when I select that hot sheet, we'll see information, and maybe I'll just a different one. There we go. So as of today here in the Huntington Beach, one listing went from active under contract to pending. One listing went from active to withdrawn. Geez, doesn't seem like a lot going on in Huntington Beach, but now if I go back and I go 24 hours, still select the same hot sheet, I now see a different report. So unlike the Market Watch, where it now groups everything very easily and effortlessly, where I can click on it at a glance, here I get to see the list, and I now have to calculate manually my information. Anybody like the hot sheets?
Tony, this is similar to the my favorite searches, right? Except that you can't go back to like previous search and stuff like that.
Correct. And my favorite searches are basically your active searches for your clients. So yes, you'll see whatever criteria you have, plus any new criteria or any new listings that you found in your search, but you won't know what's actually going on in a given time frame. Here, at least with the hot sheets, I can see at a glance what's been happening in the areas. If there's a lot of activity, which now I can keep an eye on, and again, be able to answer questions about what's happening in the market that I'm, or in the areas that I'm marketing in. Does that make sense, Carlos?
Yes.
Excellent. And Ruth says, great stuff. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Let's run some searches real quick. I always like to click on the word search. Why? Because it now opens up all the available different property type searches that you can make. Here you've got the different property or the different types of searches that you can make for each property type. Real quickly here, a couple of things that I want to point out. Maybe we want to look for a property by its street name. And if you're like me, you're a horrible speller. And sometimes things like PCH or Pacific Coast Highway, some agents will put in PCH versus Pacific Coast, or maybe it says Pacific Coast and highway is a designation. How do I find everything related to that street name? Well, this is where we're going to use the wildcard symbol. Now, the wildcard symbol is great. Is a great tool that we can use in our searches, especially if we're looking for certain text or certain words or phrases in a search. So as an example, if I want to look for everything that's got the word Pacific in the very beginning of the street name, all I need to do is just simply type in the word Pacific, and then I'm going to follow it with the wildcard symbol. Now, the wildcard symbol is the asterisk symbol on your keyboard, basically Shift 8. What I'm telling the system to do is to find every street name that begins with the word Pacific and anything else after it. So it might be Pacific Coast, it might be Pacific Highway, it might be Pacific Avenue, whatever. And let's just narrow this down a little bit further. Let's look at actives and coming soons. And we see that there are 102 properties that have the word Pacific in the street name in the very beginning. So now all I need to do at this point is click on results and see these different properties. Now, another way that we can use the wild card is in front of the word. So maybe I use the asterisk in front of the word Pacific. That means I'm looking for anything in front of the word Pacific and that the street name should end, chances are, in the word Pacific. So in this case, we've got 36 results. And if we look at those real quickly, and why didn't it do that? Oh, there's nothing here that begins with that. All right, great. Let's try a different word. Coast. Hopefully. We've got several properties that have like sea coast. There's the word coast somewhere in the street name. Now, if you want it something a little bit more specific, then what we can do is surround the word or phrase with asterisks. So asterisk, coast, asterisk. Now we've got even more properties here, 84 versus 46, that have coast somewhere in the street name, whether it's in the beginning, in the middle, in the end, what have you. So this is a great way of being able to find certain words or phrases. Now we can also use the asterisk symbol to spell words. And what I mean by that is, how many of you love the word Mallorca, right? And love to know how to spell it, right? M-O-R or M-E-R or M-A-R, right? Well, what we can now do is say, maybe say, I want the street name to begin with the word or the letter M, follow with the asterisk, and then we want to end it with CA. So now we're asking the system to fill in the street name in between the M and the CA. Here we've got 11 properties. And if we open that up, we've got a whole slew of things here that begin with M and end in the letters CA. Anybody like that?
Yeah, that's great.
That's great, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
fun. Now, we're not limited to just doing this in the street name. If we wanted to, we could also do this in the public remarks or the private remarks section. So maybe you're looking for something like, I don't know, what's popular right now for you guys to look for? Anybody?
You want to have a suggestion?
Sure.
No pets,
What was that?
no pets.
No
No
pets.
Which I didn't think you could say that in the MLS because that's fair housing violations.
Well,
But
you
if
can,
they're
you can,
pets, yes or not,
you can specify no pets just if it's a service animal. You can't discriminate against a service animal. A service animal is not a pet.
Service animal is not a pet. Gotcha. And I do believe that you're probably talking about a residential lease for that, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So here we'll jump over to the lease. We're coming to the property description. So what I can now do is type in no pet or no pets. We're going to see if there are any active properties or coming soon. And we see that there are none. Why? Well, because I'm asking that the property description only have the words no pets in it. But if I put the asterisks here, like in the beginning, or I'm sorry, at the end, we've got 3 properties here that say no pets, or the property description begins with the words no pets, or we can put it in front of no pets. And we see that there are 15 properties that end their property description with no pets, or we surround the word or the phrase with 2 asterisks, asterisk, no pets, asterisk, and we have 373 properties in the MLS system under residential lease that say no pets. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, we're not limited to just this either. Here we can look for multiple words or phrases. All we need to do, separate them out with commas and then put in your next set of words or phrases surrounded by the asterisk. So what would be something else that maybe would be great for a lease? Anybody?
Come on, Carmenza.
Garage.
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 No, carport or garage.
Okay, so here we're gonna put in garage, carport, right? So now all of a sudden we start to increase. And let's see what's going on in Irvine with these. We have 116 properties that have either the word or phrases, no pets, garage, and carport. So now we've got some choices. Here again, we can go to the results, and then we can now open up those listings. And now we are going to see here somewhere in here that it's got a garage. Oh, there we go, car garage. That it might have no pets, but I don't see that here, or it might have a carport. So that comma in that property description says that you're looking for this word and or this word and or this word.
Maybe the pet is in the remarks.
You could do that in the remarks, but the moment you put it here as well, that means that you're looking for it to be both in the property description and in the private remarks.
Oh.
So if you don't see a lot of properties here in the property description based on your words and phrases, take it out and then put it here in the private remarks and see what else you also come up with. Does that help?
Yes.
Now, this also means that we can also exclude things. So there is an exclusion. Is there anything that you guys might not want, or a client might not want to deal with when it comes to maybe buying a property? Anybody?
A pool.
A pool. So this is where we don't want pools. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another symbol, which is the exclamation point. The exclamation point followed by the asterisk and then say pool and then asterisk. I'm now indicating that I don't want any properties or any properties in the property description to have a pool. Maybe also I don't want, oops, senior, let's see here. What would be besides a pool? Let's see. Senior community. So what I can now do is put in multiple words or phrases. If I don't want something here, or if I don't want, or my client doesn't want something, then just put the exclamation point, the asterisk, what it is that you don't want to find, and then end it with an asterisk. And now you won't find any properties with that there. So if you were looking for a client that only, or that wanted a main floor bedroom and no second floor, let's see, Irvine. And by the way, here we've got 76 properties that do not have a pool and are not in a senior community that are currently active or coming soon. But if we wanted something like no upstairs, so maybe we go second floor. We can type that in, but some agents won't type in second or type in the word second. Maybe they'll actually put in second floor like that. So here you can now exclude those properties in, that have those types of remarks. Does that help?
Yes, that's great, Tony.
And then we can mix and match it too. So maybe we don't want a second floor, but we want main floor bedroom and a main floor bath. Or I'm sorry, main floor. Are we still allowed to say master?
Yes, that has not been ruled out.
So here we've now all of a sudden got properties that have a main floor master and a main floor bedroom, but no second floor and no senior community is mentioned. Anybody like that?
Yeah. Sunny, does that answer your question? Sunny, does that answer your question?
Yes, excellent.
Yes, okay, great.
Now, you wanted me to touch on to see if the property was allowed to be on
To be used in
on
the neighborhood
a market report.
Right.
Okay, so here what we're going to do is we're going to pull up actives. Maybe we even go as far as doing a map search in and around our neighborhood.
So the purpose, once again, is to pull up the results of properties that are for a market update, for example, which includes not only closed properties, but actively listed properties.
Right.
Yeah.
And very easy. So here we get to our agent one line report. And one of the things you want to do is be able to see if the property is even allowed on a market report. This is where I like to have fun here by adding in columns. You may or may not know this, but you as an agent can add in or take away or move columns in your agent one line display. Excuse me. So we're going to start with the easy one first. Maybe I want to move a column. Maybe I want to move this column here over towards the far left. All I need to do is hover over top of the column so I get a four-way arrow just like so. Click and hold with my mouse, and I can now move it and place it in my desired position. If I want to get rid of a column, hover over top of the column, click on it once, and now we can say remove the column. And here, if I click on remove, it's going to be taken away. Now, by the way, I like moving this column, just so you know, because of this little indicator here, the stoplight. The stoplight icon indicates if a property is a condo, if it's FHA approved or not. There is a feature in the MLS that indicates to us if a property is either HOA approved or it's not, or it's in threat of losing its FHA approval. So if you have a client that's an FHA buyer and they're trying to buy a property, but then you find out in the 8th hour that the condominium complex is not FHA approved, that shoots the deal right in the foot. Well, why waste their time finding that home if they can't even qualify for the type of lending? This is the great column to use. But now we want to add in a new column to make sure it's on the market report or the neighborhood market report. How we do that is come over to a column, click on it, and now we're going to insert a column. And when we click on insert a column, this now allows us to insert any field on a listing. What we're now going to do is we're going to click on where it says search and we're going to type in neighborhood. Now, when we type in neighborhood, we have one here called the Neighborhood Market Report, the NMR. When I click on NMR and I say apply, and now a new column has been added here, and we now see a yes or no choice. The no choice says that this agent, excuse me, the agent as well as their brokerage do not allow their listings to be on any market report. So now what you can do is simply add in this column, and you can see by yeses or nos if the property is or is not allowed to be on a market update report, at which point you can now exclude that property out for you to now do what you need to do to get these listings on your printed market material for a neighborhood update.
So Tony, is it true that if you were to look at the MLS listing itself, the detail, it is not going to indicate whether or not it is permitted to be used in the neighborhood market report? This is the only format in which that information is available, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Right, because if we, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody
if you
had a
look,
question. If you remove a column, the easiest way to replace that column?
oh, to replace it, you just add it back in if you wanted to, or If we go back to my agent one line display, or what I could do is come over to the display choice, click on the down arrow, and then we can get back to the original setting if we want to, or we can come over to the gear icon and hit reset system to search defaults,
Okay.
which will add in and replace everything the way it was.
Okay, thank you.
But what you could do in this point in moving columns and adding in columns, come over to where it says set clear defaults by clicking on this gear icon. And now you can say set current display, sort order, and count per page as your starting default. So now any future searches you do will always be in this format.
Tony, a question.
Mhm.
So if you're the listing agent and you want put no in the market, where do you put it on?
So when you're inputting your listing, and here we'll just add a new listing. Under your Office MLS tab, you have a section here before selecting no. It's in this dark gray area. There is a choice here that says neighborhood market report seller participant, yes or no. So while you're inputting the listing, if you indicate no, that means that that NMR section will be marked no, and that agents won't be able to use your listing on a market update. Now, as we had talked about earlier, if I am not allowing any agent to use my listing, guess what? I am not allowed, even if the agent says yes, not allowed to use their listings or my market reports. So if I'm not allowing other people to use my data, then I can't use theirs, even if they allow it. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see here. So far, are there any questions about what we went over?
And just a comment, I think it's very helpful on an agent one line report to determine whether or not a property is FHA approved or not. Otherwise, people will call their lender, they'll have to go to HUD's website. That's fantastic. So obviously talks to a third-party website to make that determination.
It does. I do believe CRMLS has partnered with them for close to 7 years now, and it's really good. I know that they've modified it recently to not give you, well, let's double check here. It just tells you its current status, it's eligible for review, gives you the property management company info, or I'm sorry, the property information. It used to give you, I guess it doesn't anymore. It used to give you the HOA company name and their phone number. It doesn't look like it does that anymore, but nowadays, because it looks like here, this one's in threat of losing it. So you can now send an inquiry and say, why is it losing it? Well, it could be because of the loan amount max compared to the list price. It could be because of absentee owner versus owner occupied ratio is causing it, you know, or it's just up for expiration. And most HOAs don't think about renewing their FHA approvals because they're busy doing other things. So maybe you as the agent go out of your way to make sure that they maintain their FHA approval status. So there are some nice things about this that I think are helpful.
Yes.
Especially when we're talking about clients who are just now trying to get into properties currently. Let's see here.
Tony, can you talk about how to create a custom display or export for someone that's going to do a market update?
Oh, okay. Sure. A custom display, real easy. What we can do, come over to where it says hello, your name at the top right corner. Click on the down arrow and now click on settings. Now, you may or may not know this, but you can actually create displays of what information you want on your agent one line report that you can now export into an Excel spreadsheet. How we do that is very simply here under my name settings, we go to where it says custom displays. Here we can now create a custom display. How we do that? Very simply click on add. So we're going to add a new one. We're now going to name it. Okay. From here, I now get to pick what fields I want in my display. Now, instead of going through 452 different fields for our display, simply come down below to where it says search and type in what it is that you want. So price. So here we've got our list price. We're going to select it. We're going to say add it as a field. Maybe we choose status. And now we just type in the information, find what it is that we want. Maybe we go bedroom, total baths. Let's go bathrooms. Let's go, where's bathroom totals? There we go. Full half bath. There we go. So here we can type in what we want. As a matter of fact, we can even customize the displays, but these are a little tricky. But now we just need to hit save. At which point, once you've saved the information and you're done, now all we need to do, and by the way, we can pull up that previous property search by our recent searches. And now we want to see our custom display. All we now need to do is come up to the top middle where it says display, and it is defaulted to the agent one line display. We click on the down arrow, and now we can find at the very top here our custom display. Once we find our custom display, we see it. Now, if we wanted to, we can now select the properties. And from here down below, under actions, we can export these properties to an Excel or a CSV file. In this case, when I hit export, it's now exporting that display into a CSV, which when I now click on it, either my numbers application will open up on my Mac computer or my Excel spreadsheet will open up on my PC computer. And hopefully we will see that display laid out in its columns. At which point you can now sort the columns. You can do whatever you need to. Maybe you even export it or import it into your CRM. So here we're opening up the Excel spreadsheet, and there's our spreadsheet. We can even move the columns around if we wanted to in the spreadsheet if we wanted to. Just simply move it and do what we need to do. Anybody like that?
Sure. Carlos.
And this is great if you're doing your postcard, because you can now put in this chart and put in what you need.
I know how to do it. I just wanted him to show everybody else how to do it.
Oh, excellent.
It's a really cool feature for people that are thinking of doing market updates. So
Exactly.
this is how you export it.
So now you can put in all the required fields per the MLS rules in your own custom display, and then you can export it out into an Excel spreadsheet style format, and now you can put it on your printed material.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Let's see, there is somebody in the chat box. Let's see. Oh, we got a very cool. And thank you, Carlos, for asking. All right. Good question.
Excellent.
No, go ahead, Tony, please.
Oh, no. I was just waiting for you.
I don't see any other questions. If you have them, now is your opportunity to ask Tony. And while you're thinking of that last question, one change that is coming to the MLS is going to be in regards to properties that are actively listed. The rule is going to change from 2 days to 1 day.
Oh.
That was at the last MLS committee meeting. So you will not have 2 days to put active listings in. So look for that announcement, most likely when you're logging into the MLS. Hasn't occurred yet, but it will come out sometime soon.
And they are super strict about that clear cooperation. If you aren't putting those listings in, they are hitting everybody with fines. And I want to say minimally it's $1,500 for non-input. That's not even counting the delayed input or late entry violation, which is $750. on top of, listing agreement violation, I think, which is a rule, which is another $1,500. So those fines will add up super quickly. And I know everybody here doesn't want to give away their money, right? Anybody who wants to give away money, Richard and I are here for donations. And we're here 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
And we're worthwhile causes, right?
Exactly. Exactly. We have a gas fund.
Tony, I have one here.
Yes, sir.
Can you show them how to update their contact information in the roster?
Sure. Updating contact information in your roster is pretty important, especially those of you who like to change your email addresses, like you change your socks each and every other day. So how do we do that? Very simply, we're going to do that under Add Edit. Under the Add Edit tool, Add Edit is not just for inputting a listing, but you'll notice here that there is a section called Roster. Under the Roster section, we're not going to add a new roster. We're not going to edit an existing. We're going to quick modify ourselves. So under the quick modify, we're just going to simply type in our user IDs for the MLS. From here, we're going to hit Edit. Now, when we go to see Edit, we're going to see what's current on our roster. To modify this data, we're simply going to come over back to the left-hand side, click on Change Contact Information, and here we're going to update our contact information. Update your email address. Update your email address for offers if you accept offers via email. And of course, put in your personal website. If you have to, make sure your phone numbers are up to date. If you don't want your cell phone number here, and maybe you went out of your way to get a Google phone number, put in your Google phone number. Also, preferred contact order. This affects those of you who are listing properties or sending out properties. You want this information to be displayed on that information or on those reports. But if you select a choice here in your list, make sure that information is filled in. Once you've updated your roster, come down below, hit Submit Member, and that saves your roster data. Now, this doesn't change it here at the board or at the association. So definitely notify the board if you've updated your email address, because we need those updated emails anytime we need to send out announcements from the association, or even better yet, your billing. So if we don't have the current updated email address because MLS doesn't tell us when you update your email, you have to tell us that. Okay. Did I help, Carlos?
That was great. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
No, Tony, thank you very much. Excellent presentation.
Thank you all.
Great. And then I want to remind you, if you're working with buyers, be sure that your clients are pre-qualified. Be sure you have them contact Sarah Menchaca. You won't be disappointed. Plus, you're going to be able to have somebody you can rely on, somebody who we worked with for years. So have your clients get in touch with Sarah.
Definitely.
Okay. Tony, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Everybody. It's good to see you.
And hopefully I'll see you at 12 for my podcast.
Okay. And then happy July 4th to everybody.
Happy July 4th, everybody.
Bye.